ॐ कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय हरये परमात्मने प्रणतक्लेशनाशाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। In this shortest chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Geeta, we are presently seeing how Sri Krishna fully endorses the path of Akshara Upasakas, those who adore, contemplate upon the ultimate truth which has no form, no name, no description, Nirguna Nirakara. As we saw in the last class, in the verses 3 and 4, Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, Te prapnuvanti mam eva. This category of people, ladies and men, who aksharam upasate, who adore, literally akshara means that which has no decay, no change at all, and it stands for the attributeless reality. ये तु अक्षरम पर्युपासते ते मामेव प्राप्नुवन्ति. They come to me only. While in the second verse he has said, those who adore the supreme truth as God, as having countless desirable attributes, and very often having certain form also, attributes make him saguna, and form makes him sakara. So if someone worships Shiva, Shiva has a certain form, as we describe. He has Neelakantha, blue neck, Jatadhari, matted locks. He has moon upon his head, Chandrakaladhara. He holds a Trishula, the trident. All these are Akara or Rupa. He is compassionate. He is all powerful. He is all pervasive. He listens to our prayers. These are attributes. And Sri Krishna, without mincing words, said in the second verse, those who go for the Saguna Sakara are better placed. We commented on it. We said that statement is keeping in mind that overwhelming majority of people in this world would do well in that bhakti yoga. But a small number, to which you and I could jolly well belong, might opt for Jnana Marga. And he doesn't let Jnana Marga down. He doesn't let the students of Upanishads down. These 3 and 4, verses 3 and 4, are in total defense of Jnana Marga also. For what is said here is a clear echo of the path of Jnana, wisdom, and in the context, it is about Nirguna Nirakara. That Brahman cannot be described. Thought cannot reach it, speech cannot touch it. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha is a much quoted line from the Upanishads, to be specific, the Taittiriya Upanishad. We went through this, and in the second of the set of two, Sri Krishna connected morality, ethics, and caring for people, caring for other living beings. Sarva Bhuta Hite Rata. He connected that to the upasana of Nirguna Nirakara. In fact, right values of life and care and concern for fellow human beings, extend it even to all forms of life, are a part of spirituality. They can never be separated. There can never be an adharmic person who at the same time rises to great spiritual heights. If there is some adharma in that lady or in that man, it will cause certain deceleration. It will hold her back, it will hold him back from reaching the greatest heights. In spite of the adharma in their life, if they have certain good sanskaras also, they have certain abilities, certain talents, certain skills, then they will shine in the world. But liberation is not possible for those who have something which is unethical in their life. Therefore, while the first of the set of two talks about what they adore, Anirdeshyam, Avyaktam, Aksharam, Sarvatragam, Achintyam, Kutastam, Achalam, Dhruvam, some 8 attributes. I'm calling them attributes. Actually, the reality is attributeless. For the simple reason that every one of these pointers is more of the nature of negation. Brahma is viewed by these Akshara Upasakas more in terms of what it is not. Therefore, it is said on the highest plane that, really speaking, truth can never be defined. You can only notice what is untruth, what is false, and your realizing the truth consists in negating what is false. Negate the false and you are done. This is the voice of Vedanta. Therefore, it is nirguna, and yet it is possible to meditate upon it. As various notions about God, about the ultimate truth, about what is most holy, various ideas pop up in our mind, in all alertness, we notice the idea and we see the limitations of the idea, we see the limitations of the concept. And in dropping the concepts, in letting go of the ideas, there takes place a certain deep inner transformation. That is the path of Vedanta. Now, in the Bhāshya, which also we quickly saw, Sri Shankaracharya explains the words, and we saw some of it. Avyakta is something which is not available for senses to see, senses to hear, and so on. Therefore, it is anirdeshya. And the word upasate also, paryupasate was explained. They adore and contemplate upon the highest truth. These nirguna, nirakara, akshara upasakas, they do so in all possible ways. Therefore, the study of several Upanishads, study of several mantras of the Upanishads do help us, or it helps us. There are many prakriyas. Sometimes you think about what is the truth which is common to the 3 states of experience, waking, dream, and deep sleep. Some other time you think about what is imperishable amidst countless things that are perishing without stop. Some other time you may contemplate upon who is in me the witness of joy and sorrow, of all kinds of pairs of opposites. Therefore, pari means samanta. From all angles of view, you dwell upon the ultimate truth. We saw a beautiful definition of upasana, and since the present context is of akshara, which is nirguna nirakara, we should say yata shastram upasyasya arthasya vishayikaranena. We must dwell upon the object of our meditation, make it your object, as though it can never be objectified, doesn't matter. When you think about it, it has become your object. But the way you go about your thinking dismisses one by one the possibility of that truth being actually an object in relation to a subject. Nirguna Nirakara is thus appreciated as the subject only. It can never be the object. But in a manner of saying, someone asks, what is the object of your meditation? You say, your first reply is, I am a Vedantin. The object of my meditation is that Brahma. And if the friend also is quite a bit exposed to Vedanta, she may ask you, oh, you are meditating on Brahma. Brahma is the object of your meditation, but I have heard that Brahma can never be the object. You smile and say, that is true. Therefore, for a first reply, I said, Brahma is the object of my meditation. But if you see how I meditate, I am actually dismantling all concepts and notions, all kind of positions where Brahma is objectified. So Brahma then remains as the unobjectifiable subject only. Brahma is ever the witness. Brahma is never what is witnessed. So samipyam gatva, upasana has the preposition upa. You got to get nearer and nearer this Brahma Tattva in your contemplation. When we are very worldly, even if we are contemplating upon Brahman, our mind could be, where shall I eat this evening? A new restaurant has opened in the next road. Oh, your mind is nearer to the restaurant which is in the next road and not near Brahma, which is your own true nature. So let go of those thoughts of where to eat, where to go, and samipyam. Upa means samipyam. Stay with the contemplation, yatha shastram, as guided by the holy scriptures of Brahman. Tailadharavat, like the uninterrupted flow of oil, when you pour oil from one vessel to another, let your thoughts have no interruption. Aim at it. And to make it successful, be regularly in satsanga. For with satsanga, listening to competent teachers, your mind gets more and more enriched. Your mind, which was like wet wood which would not catch fire, slowly becomes like dry wood. One matchstick with a flame at one tip of it falls upon the dry wood, the wood catches fire. That is possible, and have confidence in yourself. So pratyayas flow, pratyaya pravahena, dirghakalam yadasanam tadupasanam. And then sarvatragam, like space, it's all pervasive, achintyam, unthinkable. And then you have Kutastha. We also saw that. Kuta has two meanings. One is Maya, where there is deception. Right there, if you see carefully, the truth smiles at you. Another is Kuta means Rashi, a whole lot of things. And right in the midst of that Rashi, and including everything, yet it is alipta, unattached. With this, we are poised to go back to the Saguna Sakara Upasana, where God is made into a person. You may look at God as your Father, as Christianity has it, Father in the heaven. You may look at God as your mother, as in Sanatana Dharma. A whole lot of places have Devi, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Durga, and many other variations. Kashi Vishalakshi, Kanchi Kamakshi, Madurai Meenakshi, and another hundred or hundreds of Devi temples. Yes, you may make it into a person, personify. Make God personified or personify God. Personify the greatest truth, which at the end of it all may not be a person. Doesn't matter. That's how you approach. You will reach wherever finally that upasana takes you. Sri Ramakrishna gave that wonderful illustration like water. The supreme truth has no particular shape at all, but when the cool breeze of bhakti goes over the water of a sea, water becomes an iceberg, and iceberg has a shape. Therefore, nirguna as though becomes saguna sakara for some time. And when the bright sun of Jnana Surya rises on the horizon, thanks to the heat of the Jnana Surya, this iceberg melts and you realize there is no shape, no form. Therefore, in the lofty thinking of Sanatana Dharma, Saguna and Nirguna have both been accepted. Sakara and Nirakara have both been accepted, both been welcomed. If one son of yours is a Vedantin and another son is totally into bhakti towards one chosen form of God, you as the mother or the father should be happy about both of them. Don't disturb them. And thus Shankara's Bhāshya goes over to the second shloka, which we shall see now. Sanniyamya, samyak niyamya, upasamhritya, indriya gramam. All those Vedantins, scholars, intellectuals who know so much should read this very carefully. Unless they live their life in self-control, they do not stand a chance of the highest realization. It is one thing to appreciate very, very profound pointers that are found in the Vedanta, but in order to realize it, it's quite another game, another ball game, as they say, to live in restraint. Pujya Swami Chinmayananji used to say, not to do what you feel like doing is freedom. My humorous example is 2 a.m. you go to bathroom and then on the way back to bed you remember, oh, there is a samosa in the kitchen. Why not I bite it then? This is what you feel like doing. But is 2 a.m. right time, a good time to eat a samosa? Drop that idea. Don't do what comes to your mind. In fact, in today's literature on emotional intelligence, there is one component of emotional intelligence. As you know, those who have high EQ have many components in their emotional behavior, which together give a high IQ, high EQ to them, emotional quotient. One of the components that contributes immensely to your emotional intelligence is impulse control. What Puja Swamiji referred to as what you feel like doing is impulse. Somebody says something nasty and you feel like slapping him on the face. You feel like doing it. Would you do that? If you do it, you will have to face the consequences, and multiple consequences. Whether you are punished or not by the law of the land, your relationships goes for a toss. You will suffer from certain discomfort later. Oh, why did I do that? I could have just said to him, I don't agree with you. Don't talk like that anymore. That must have been enough. But I just slapped him. Oh. So impulse to enjoy some pleasure, or the impulse to punish somebody or hit someone and come out with some violence. Both these come under what Puja Gurudev Chinmayananji expressed in a simple language: what you feel like doing. Not to do what you feel like doing is freedom, he said, in a certain context. So, sanniyamya indriya gramam sarvatra samabuddhaya. Though we tend to be conditioned, we tend to be influenced by our past, what people have said to us, as there is an expression, what we have bought into. We buy into certain outlooks, certain values, and many times they are nothing short of prejudice. We have a certain prejudice, maybe for or against some communities. Your mind has a sweeping conclusion. All Bengalis are like this. All Gujaratis are like this. South Indians, they are like this. Oh, come on. In every community, there are noble people and there are, of course, less developed people. But if you have a sweeping conclusion, then you cannot be samabuddhi. You have a bias against women. You have a bias against children, let us say. You have a bias against certain race. Cannot. Alas, in political situations, politicians, to get votes, to win elections, take such strong sides. They pamper certain communities to get votes, and they simply ignore the genuine needs of another group or community or section of the society, just for the reason that, well, whether I serve them or not, they are not going to give me votes. So I'll just put aside their application. Their request for some help, I will see later. Politicians, a good number of them, not all, a good number of politicians, alas, are carried away by Vishama Buddhi. Sri Krishna says, you want lasting peace, born of spiritual enlightenment, be a Samabuddhi. Be objective. If someone really is messing up things, keep him away. Whereas, don't keep him away because he belongs to this community or the color of skin is something and so on. So these are again, you see, human values. Samatulya buddhihi yesham ishta anishta praptau te samabuddhaya. Shankaracharya gives the definition. Those whose outlook is same when something pleasant happens to them or something unpleasant happens to them. They see whether there is truth in what is happening. You are explaining something in a classroom, going to the blackboard, and you wrote something wrong. And somebody in the audience got up and said, Madam, that is wrong, that is incorrect. What you wrote is incorrect. You look at that person and that person's personality, that person's religion or caste, etc., let us say, is something which you do not like. No. Whether it is a man or a woman, whether it is a white man or a black lady, you must focus on, is what the person said true? Did I write something wrong? Oh, what did I write? I wrote 2 plus 3 is 9. Of course, it is wrong. So, no matter who pointed out my error, I must accept it. Then, ishta anishta praptau samabuddhi. Such people, mameva prapnuvanti, they reach me. In fact, they are sarva bhuta hiterata. Sometimes it is asked, Does Gita talk about social service? Does Gita talk about social work, caring for the society? At several places, there are these expressions which, if you think about it, make a strong case for working for the good of all. But then, if you have one particular model and you want everybody to do social service by that model only, that is not right. In fact, in the culture of India, a whole lot of social systems were preventive in nature. Preventive. Whereas today in the world, on one hand, some social service is going on. Let's say, as a random example, there are people who are working for protection of environment, climate, but 100 times more, the same so-called developed society creates such hazards. They destroy the climate. They spoil the environment. Contradiction. Whereas if our society could essentially be preventive of evils, even in health, it is strange. I have always wondered why very qualified doctors do not talk about diet so much, do not talk about exercise so much, do not, very less. Sometimes they do. But generally, do this test, do that test, and then they see all the tests. Okay, I'm giving these tablets and these injections, and surgery may be needed. Come once more, we may do the surgery. So, pills, shots, surgery, and how long should I take this, doctor? And typically, we got to take this for a long time, maybe all your life. It will keep things under control. And then the doctor has no time also to spend with you, walks away and says, next patient. Alas, something seriously wrong. And then the doctor on Sunday might go on a charity run. He walks or he runs 10 miles to raise some funds for some social cause. Oh, dear doctor, it's very nice you are running that 10 miles on Sunday to raise funds for a cause. But in the 5 days that you work, Monday to Friday, can you be more sensitive, more sensible? Can you be more holistic in your approach? Can you reduce all those chemicals that will go into the patient's body? And can you give him some tips? Can you give her some advice whereby the patient's inner resilience or inner resistance to various problems increases? Why don't you advise? Oh, no, no, that is all left to these religious people, spiritual people. I am a doctor. I know what medicine will. I need not elaborate. Sarva Bhuta Hite Rata comes from the ground of holistic thinking. Anyway, natu tesham vaktavyam kinchit mam te prapnuvanti iti. Sri Krishna says they such meditators upon the formless and nameless reach me only. And Shankaracharya says there's no need to say it because if anybody, very rare are such people, if anybody goes to that height of contemplation and can stay in such contemplation, can stay in that outlook for long and long time, then Gita itself has said earlier in the seventh chapter, Jnanitu Atma eva me matam. They, thanks to their lofty meditation where they visualize the ultimate truth as sparing nothing, leaving out nothing, that Brahma is outside, inside, everywhere. Brahma alone is. Thanks to proper study, they understand what they are saying. Otherwise, one may memorize a Vedantic paragraph and just mumble it in one's meditation without knowing how it is so. Therefore, systematic, sustained study of Vedanta can make a big difference. Your meditation will be deeper, more meaningful if you have been studying also. We are not saying just for the sake of studying, just go on reading this or that book. No, no, no. A systematic, well-chosen plan of study where you do not waste time on simply repeating things. But if you ever repeat, it is more to win over forgetfulness. Sometimes you may go over, let us say you go over Ishavasya Upanishads for the third time in a group study that you do. Third time you have taken up Ishavasya. Shall we call it a waste? You have done it already. No, may not be. Because close the book and ask yourself, what did we study last time in the Ishavasya Upanishad? Very little you may remember, as well as various subtle teachings might not be so clear to you. You hardly have thought about them recently. Then you better study. That is not unnecessary repetition. It is a necessary review and a repetition too, for you to lift your mind once more, which the mind had fallen down because of worldly association. So many things, money, men, and matters, all those things came and your mind got externalized. Therefore, study again. Study and meditate. Meditate and study. You move back and forth between study and meditation. That is Jnana Marga. In Jnana Marga, study represented by Shravana and meditation represented in a sense both by Manana and Nididhyasana. They are the major steps of Jnana Marga. Sri Krishna said, they reach me, and Shankaracharya says, they actually discover their oneness with God. Nahi Bhagavat Swarupanam Satam Yuktatamatvam Ayuktatamatvam Va Vachyam. Someone may ask, now in this third and fourth verse, you are praising those who are adoring the attributeless Brahman. Earlier, you praised those who worship God, making him a person. What is this? What is your final position? Are you saying that these Akshara Upasakas are better connected? Shankaracharya makes a very interesting comment. These Akshara Upasakas, if they truly have that maturity, if they truly have reached a certain height, then they are, of course, the most excellent ones. No comment can be made about them. Yuktatama or Ayuktatama. They are well connected or not well connected. You better keep quiet. If someone has done Brahma Chintana, someone has cleansed up one's personal life of contradictions, prejudice, unclean, vulgar thoughts, etc., and is truly abiding by Brahma, then don't even try to judge them. When you notice the height that they have reached, the best you can do is put your head down and bow down before them. Respect them. They are, of course, way above. But then why was it said in the second verse? Those devotees are better connected. That is talking about the millions. Among millions and millions of people, 90% of these people go speedily, get going faster. Like someone gave an example. You need to climb up a hill, and the hill is thorny, uneven, and dangerous places you may fall off. Then, in many places, they make a path where there are little steps. If you go to hilly regions, go to Uttarakhand, go to Himachal Pradesh, those hilly areas of India, for example, everywhere in the world there are such places where there are villages sometimes on top of a little hill. And olden days, there were no ways for your motor car to go. You got to stop your car somewhere, and last 1 mile you have to climb up. A few years ago, I was in Himachal Pradesh, way north of Shimla, and some NRIs took me there. One night I halted there. But then I was surprised. They had to stop the car at some point and then they turned to me, Swamiji, till now last just 5 minutes, not much. You are much younger than us, we are so much older, but all three of us will have to now climb up. And I had to climb, but thank God that for the climbing, just about 3 feet wide, a path was made with little steps. So it is said, Bhakti Marga is like that path where steps are made. Dhyana Marga is harder, but Dhyana Marga could be many times a shortcut. Those who know the skill of climbing hills, they go like a deer or some other mountain creature, climbs up. Within a minute, it's up there. Anyway, without indulging in too many examples, Shankaracharya is all praise for Akshara Upasakas. Now, in a logical sequence, Sri Krishna should go back to Saguna Sakara Upasakas, but he makes a comment which in fact puts Jnana Marga and Bhakti Marga in sharp contrast in one shloka itself. In a single shloka, he says Jnana Marga, Nirguna Nirakara Upasana is most praiseworthy, but there is a but. What is this but? This but is for majority of people, it is very hard. It is harder than Bhakti Marga. Naturally, like in the example we just now mentioned, if some steps are made, it is easier to go, even if it is a little winding path. Sometimes the path with steps is not straight up. It goes a little left, then again it comes a little right, again left, again right, but you find it easier to go. In fact, it is in this context only, they say Pipilika Marga and Vihayasa Marga. The meaning is Pipilika means an ant. An ant which is on ground has to reach top of a tree. On a branch there is something to be eaten or taken. The ant goes very slowly, but with all its patience, it reaches that point. And Vihayasa Marga is a bird. Vihayas means bird. The bird goes in one straight line. The ant just cannot do it. The bird in nature is made like that. But we human beings, majority of us are like ants. That is the example given. Jnana Marga. Ramana Maharshi calls Huama inquiry Vihayasa Marga. It's like the bird's flight. Arjava. Marge Arjavat. In Upadesha Sara, it is said, Marge Arjavat. In this path or on this path of self-inquiry, it is straight. Arjava is Ruju. Ruju means straight. Rujuta means straightness, straightforwardness, depending on the context. So Ruju becomes Arjava. Marga Arjavat, which can be split as Marge Arjavat or Margaha Arjavat. Either way, the Atma Vichara Marga, self-inquiry, is described by Sri Ramana Maharshi, who is one of the most well-known champions of self-inquiry, who am I inquiry. He says this who am I inquiry is the most straight path. So rather than going to the Bhakti Marga, which he will do in the 7th shloka onwards, the 6th shloka now has something to say. Oh, sorry. Which he will do in the 6th and 7th. The 5th shloka, which we are taking up, as a comparative statement. So let's read the 5th shloka. After 3 and 4 describe the Akshara Upasana, the 5th shloka goes, क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहवद्भिरवाप्यते. Klesha means hardship. I find this shloka slightly humorous too. He doesn't say Bhakti Marga has no hardship, nor does he say Dana Marga is all hardship only. What he says is, in both these there is hardship. I find it humorous because a hurried student of Gita may say, I want a path which is easy, where there is no hardship at all. The answer to that would be the easy path is eat, drink, and make merry. But sorry, that path doesn't lead to liberation. If you eat, drink, make merry, if you do whatever you feel like doing at midnight or middle of the day, anywhere, at any time, that is easy. Just go by your impulses. But it doesn't lead you to liberation. As regards paths that lead to liberation, the two major paths are Bhakti and Jnana, and Sri Krishna admits Jnana is harder. Not for those whose very Swadharma is Jnana. Please see. Sometimes you go to places where many people have difficulty with mathematics. Oh, maths are very hard, they say. But then you will find even at such places, there are a small number who love maths. You know, someone like Srinivasa Ramanujan, of course, a genius or a inexplicable, extraordinary powers he had. For him, maths was his love. He's in a hospital bed in England, and I guess the Professor Hardy comes there. And rather than talking about where it is paining, how he is doing today in terms of health, Srinivasa Ramanujan asks Hardy, Hardy, what was the number on the license plate of your car? He used to be very fond of numbers and thinking about the uniqueness of those numbers. And Hardy, who is also a very, very excellent mathematician, without batting an eyelid, he says, I also have been thinking about the number of my car's license plate is 1729. So far, I haven't found anything special about it. 1729, what is so special? Srinivasa Ramanujan's face lights up even as he is on a patient's bed in the hospital in London. He says, that's a most marvelous number. 1729, how great. And when Hardy asks, what is so great about 1729? Srinivasa Ramanujan says, counting up from 1 onwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., it is 1729. That is the first number as you go upwards, which can be expressed as the sum of two cubes in two different ways. Most people say, Namaste, Namaste, hum nahi samajhte, they go away. But for Srinivas Ramanujan, he had already thought of that number and he was excited to know Hardy's car had that 1729 on the license plate. Of course, you may wonder what it is. Most of you have known. 1729 is 10 cube. 10 into 10 into 10 is 1000. And 9 cube. 9 into 9 into 9 is 729. So you put the two cubes. And it is also, I guess, 12 cube plus 1 cube. 12 cube happens to be 1728 and 1 into 1 into 1 is 1 only. So x cube plus y cube as well as a cube plus b cube, x and y being different from a and b. It is the first number where the integer can be expressed as sum of two cubes in two different ways. I'm trying to find out what is the second number as you go further up, 1800, 1900, 2000, 3000. Many years ago in San Jose, I was lecturing on this and I gave this example. And there was one guy, Satya, after the lecture or next day, I think, he approached me and said, Swamiji, you mentioned one number quoting Srinivasa Ramanujan. And you know what is the next number going upwards? I think it was several thousands later up above. And he gave me that number. Recently, I met him in San Jose. I asked him, can you once more give me that number? He too had forgotten. We should look for it. The number after 1729, whenever it comes, go higher and higher, which also can be expressed as sum of two cubes in two different ways. Now, why am I saying this in a spiritual Gita class? See, these things are not to everybody's taste. Most people say, whatever they are, why do we care? But those who love maths, or for that matter, various subjects, those who love economics, those who love history, those who love whatever, chemistry or arts, commerce, science, you know, I am of the view that all the subjects are fascinating to different people. Every subject has its own beauty, its own charm. So, very few, maybe just 5%, maybe truly getting deeper into Vedanta. I don't mind saying, even those who are on the path of Vedanta, those who have done 2-year, 5-year, 10-year courses on Advaita Vedanta, do not necessarily stay with Vedanta in full measure. In fact, vast majority of Vedantins, lean upon devotional practices also. Once in a while, you find one Vedantin saying, I have given up everything. I do more and more Nama Japa these days. One way it is nice, they are loving God, they are doing Nama Japa. But another way it is sad. After all that Vedanta, you've given up on Vedanta? No, no, not exactly given up. But uh, I am more into bhakti these days, they say. And then there are some who go for Tantra, some who go for pilgrimages, some who go for other, not necessarily related to spirituality. They will go into right diet, what is right diet, what is naturopathy, what is Ayurveda, some go for homeopathy. So, Vedanta, it is okay for someone to study Vedanta, but to stay with Vedanta, to really engage with Vedanta, requires one's own Purva Sanskars and Ishvara Anugraha also. Kleshaha adhikataraha jnanamarginam avyaktasakta chetasam avyaktahi gatihi dukkham. Dukkham here is an adverb. Dukkhena is implied. The shloka itself says, Dehavadbihi. Whoever has a body, all of us have a body, you know. But in Shankara Bhāshya we see, by Dehavadbihi, singular being Dehavan, Dehavan, Dehavantau, Dehavantaha. In third case plural, it becomes Dehavadbihi. Dehavata, Dehavadhyam, Dehavadbihi. So those with a body always will find Dana Marga rather hard. But what is meant is, though literally it is said those with a body, what is meant is those who have greater identification with the body, with their form, with their looks, with their health, with their agility, with their mind's cheerfulness. It's one thing for you and me to become a little bored or lonely or something, but it's another to be uncomfortable with it. If you are a more mature person on the spiritual path, your mind has gone dull in the afternoon. You say, okay, it will cheer up later. You look at it without reaction. Just like physical ailment also. It's one thing to have fever, Two people may have fever, 103 degrees both. But A and B who have fever could be different in another matter. A is so disturbed. Why am I having this fever? Last 3 days it's not coming down. He is crying. B is patient. Please see, both have fever. One is patient, another is impatient. Like that, Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta tells us it is one thing for you to regard, oh, I am this body, but quite another to be attached to the body, to be so obsessed with the body's condition and so on. And Sri Krishna seems to say that in order to walk the path of Nirguna, Nirakara, Jnana Marga, you need to have a high degree of detachment to the body. So, Deha Abhimana Vadbihi, says Sri Shankaracharya, which we shall see in the next class. But broadly speaking, Bhagavan Sri Krishna is saying spirituality is an uphill task. Spirituality is not easy for anybody. But among the two paths of bhakti and jnana, bhakti has so much of hardship, jnana has so much more. Kleshaha adhikataraha. So in the next class, finally, we'll come to that Marjala Kishoranyaya, the axiom or the example, let's use a simple word, the example of the mother cat and the baby cat, kitten, which goes with the Bhakti Marga, and the example of the mother monkey and the baby monkey, which is the illustration given for Jnana Marga. Thus, one is harder, both are hard. Let's pause here. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.